wrote August Kubitschek, who had lodged with him in Austria several years before. Wherever he looked, he saw injustice, hate, and enmity. Nothing was free from his criticism. Nothing found favour in his eyes. Choking with his catalogue of hates, he would pour his fury over everything, against mankind in general, who did not understand him, who did not appreciate him, and by whom he was persecuted. How was it possible for this man, so undistinguished at the age of 24, to become one of the most powerful and infamous figures in the history of the world? A leader, moreover, known for his charisma. Circumstances, of course, would play a large part in this transformation. But one of the many remarkable aspects of this story is how a number of the key personality traits which Hitler possessed as an oddball painter, trudging the streets of Munich in 1913, aspects of his character which contributed to his lack of professional and personal success at the time, would not only remain consistently with him for the rest of his life, but subsequently be perceived not as weaknesses, but as strengths. Hitler's monumental intolerance, for instance, meant that he found it impossible to debate any issue. He would state his views, and then lose his temper if he was systematically questioned or criticized. But what was perceived as ignorant slogan shouting in 1913 would later be seen as certainty of vision. Then there was his massive overconfidence in his own abilities. Back in Vienna a few years before, he had announced to his mystified roommate that he had decided to write an opera, and the fact that he could neither read nor write music properly was no handicap. In years to come, this overconfidence would be perceived as a mark of genius. By the time he arrived in Munich, Hitler had already experienced years of disappointment. Born on the 20th of April 1889 at Braunau am Inn in Austria, on the border with Germany, Hitler did not get on with his elderly father, a customs official, who beat him. His father died in January 1903 at the age of 65, and his mother succumbed to cancer 4 years later in December 1907, when she was just 47 years old. An orphan at the age of 18, Hitler drifted between Linz in Austria and the capital, Vienna, and for some months in 1909 he experienced real destitution, before a small financial gift from an aunt allowed him to set up as a painter. He disliked Vienna, believing it to be a seedy, impure city, awash with prostitution and corruption. It wasn't until his 24th birthday, when he received a delayed legacy of just over 800 kronen from his father's will, that he was able to leave Austria and seek lodgings in Munich. This German city, a place which he later said he was more attached to than to any other spot of earth in this world. But even though he was living at last in a city he loved, Hitler seemed en route to absolute obscurity. Despite the impression he later wanted the world to have in his autobiography, Mein Kampf, written 11 years later, Hitler tried to convince his readers that during this time he had functioned almost as an embryonic politician. In 1913, Hitler was a socially and emotionally inadequate individual drifting through life without direction. Crucially, what he lacked at 24, and what many other historical figures perceived as charismatic leaders already possessed by this age, was a sense of personal mission. He only discovered what he passionately believed was his mission in life as a result of the First World War and the manner in which it ended. Without these epic events, he would almost certainly have remained in Munich and be unknown to history. Instead, he began his journey into the consciousness of the world on the 3rd of August 1914, when he petitioned, as an Austrian, to join the Bavarian army. Just 2 days before, on the 1st of August, Germany had declared war on Russia. Hitler now passionately wanted to serve the German state he so admired, and his wish was granted when in September 1914 he was sent as an ordinary soldier to the 16th Bavarian Reserve Regiment, also known as the List Regiment. The following month, he saw action for the first time close to Ypres. He wrote to an acquaintance back in Munich describing the scene. To the left and right the shrapnel were bursting, and in between the English bullets sang, but we paid no attention. Over us the shells were howling and whistling. Splintered tree trunks and branches flew around us, and then again grenades crashed into the wood, hurling up clouds of stones, earth, and stifling everything in a yellowish-green, stinking, sickening vapour. I often think of Munich, and every man of us has the single wish